Hype is in a lot of ways the center of gaming culture. It's what single-handedly ruined the launch of No Man's Sky in 2016, tanked the reception of Mass Effect Andromeda in 2017, and destroyed Andy's laptop in 2018. Showcase season is here, and even though there's no E3, there are plenty of gaming presentations holding down the fort to make sure you get all of the fresh new video game announcements delivered right to your screen. And as exciting as the summer of gaming is, we don't often think about the staggering amount of work that goes into it. The trailers, the assets, the demos, picking out Jeff Keighley's suit. We only see the final result, but don't often appreciate the effort from all parties involved. So, I want to talk about the magic of throwing a showcase. And to do that, we're going to throw our own showcase right here, right now, on The Blessing Show. Welcome to The Blessing Showcase. What's up and welcome to The Blessing Showcase. I'm your host, Blessing Adeoye Jr., and we have quite the show for you today. To be upfront, we don't have any Metroid Prime 4 news, or Starfield news, or Elden Ring DLC news, but we do have the next best thing: no blockchain games.
Woo! Yeah.
So at the very least, we're doing better than Square Enix. To start off, I want to talk about the electrifying feeling of game reveals and showcases. Showcases are where the magic happens, whether it's the E3 announcement of Final Fantasy VII Remake or the reveal of Nintendo's licensing department doing the impossible and putting Solid Snake in the same game as the dog from Duck Hunt. These moments make up a lot of where our personal hype comes from today when a new Nintendo Direct or PlayStation State of Play gets announced. And to be frank, it's something that's easy to be jaded or skeptical about. The biggest function of hype, marketing, and showcases is to sell video games. But one thing that isn't appreciated as much is how important announcing a video game really is for the people who make the games. Whether you're AAA or indie, big or small, it doesn't matter. How you announce your game has an incredible impact on everything that comes after. But don't just take my word for it though. Let's take a look at a round of game reveals.
Is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
During 2018's BlizzCon, one of the most infamous game reveals took place when Blizzard unveiled Diablo Immortal, a mobile installment into one of its most revered franchises. The reveal was immediately met with disdain from not only the internet, but from the people in the room watching it happen live.
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
Fans were hungry for a new prime Diablo game, especially after waiting a decade for Diablo 4. So Diablo Immortal's reveal was met with a ton of backlash, which in no way helped its final release.
A fun surprise is music to my ears.
Hi-Fi Rush is possibly one of the best examples of how the way a game is announced can frame excitement around it. It was a surprise announcement during Xbox's developer_direct showcase and was released that very same day. And while surprise releases can often be a big risk, some key factors made it the perfect approach for Hi-Fi Rush. Internally at Bethesda, the Tango Gameworks team noticed that anyone being introduced to the game wanted to play it immediately, and it's no wonder why. Hi-Fi Rush has the cool as hell art style, fun-looking rhythm-based gameplay, and a charming personality that is immediately identifiable from just a few seconds of game footage. Tango also dealt with the battle of proving to the world that the developers of The Evil Within could deliver on the exact opposite of The Evil Within. The solution was to give people Hi-Fi Rush the same day it was revealed, and because of the power of immediate hype and Game Pass, it worked.
A prime example of why good showcases matter.
Back during E3 2021, Koch Media, now known as PlayOn, announced Koch Primetime. At the time of its announcement, Koch Primetime seemed like a decent idea. Koch Media was the parent company of Deep Silver, Flying Wild Hog, Milestone, and more. That meant we could see the likes of games like Dead Island 2, Shadow Warrior, or Saints Row. When time came for the showcase, Koch Media showed none of that. Instead, they took the time to unveil a new label called Prime Matter and revealed games like Gungrave Gore, Dolmen, and Scars Above, with the highlight being the reveal of Payday 3 via concept art. It was a disappointing showcase because not only did Koch Media do a bad job of setting expectations for fans watching, the stream lasted a painful 2 hours with drawn-out interviews, boring pacing, and straight-up bad production. It's a bummer because each of the games that were revealed at Koch Primetime lost a moment that could have helped propel them forward. These are games from passionate developers who pour their lives into creating something they want people to see and be excited for. And it's really hard to get excited for Zoom calls, no matter what quirky green screen background you've got going on. So what makes a good game reveal? Well, let's take a look at this game called Ring of Pain. Ring of Pain is a roguelike card crawler, which both sounds like a genre I just made up and something Greg Miller would make fun of you for playing. It's an indie game with a distinct art style, unique gameplay premise, and a challenging loop. It's also a far cry from the type of AAA high-profile titles you'd see make a huge splash on the Game Awards stage. So how do you approach introducing a game like this to the world? Well, I sat down with the dev to talk about the process of revealing his game. Simon, do you mind introducing yourself? What is your name and what do you do?
Hi, I'm Simon Boxer. I am the founder of Twice Different, which is an indie studio based in Melbourne. Our most recent release is the card crawler Ring of Pain.
Were you confident in your reveal when you finally were ready to put out the first trailer?
Not very. So I thought our trailer was decent, but like audience reception is just so unpredictable. And this was the first game that we were making as a team. And the mechanics are unlike other games. So it was really quite challenging to market because people don't really have a touchstone to relate it to other games. So we didn't have the luxury of a simple marketing tagline like reverse horror or like be the bullet hell. It's a very mechanics driven game, and so you kind of need to play it to understand what it is. Like no one knew who we were or what the game was, and we're trying to make, something a bit different as well. But also one of the goals for the trailer was to help secure funding needed to complete the game. I was looking for a publisher, and I really think that a decent trailer helped legitimize what we were doing.
Did the reception of the trailer meet up to your expectations of what you thought it would do?
It did hit expectations in the sense that I didn't really have big expectations. Like we were still wayfinding the whole kind of development process, let alone the marketing. So we did get a good reception on Reddit, and I think that really kind of directed my marketing efforts towards that platform, because as an indie you have the benefit of being able to kind of talk directly to your fans, and you've also got more kind of flexibility and luxuries around the marketing side of things. Being able to be the voice of a product is really powerful on platforms.
Ring of Pain and Twice Different are just one example of thousands of devs with stories of the challenges faced when trying to announce and market a game to the world. In preparation for this video, I sent out an email to a ton of indie studios and asked them just one question. What is the most challenging part of announcing a game? Mike Towndrow, who works in PR and also helps organize the Mini Indie Showcase during PAX, told us that the most challenging part of announcing a game is creating a lasting first impression. Despite how incredible a game or project may be, there are countless other games vying for a shout out at the biggest outlets. And I can tell you from experience that that is 100% true. Every day, my inbox is filled with game updates, press releases, DoorDash notifications, and reveals for new and up-and-coming games. And if I was able to adequately give every press email the time of day they deserve, Kinda Funny Games Daily would be Kinda Funny Games every other week. Managing expectations, timing, having a stable build of a game to show off, and making a trailer that resonates are big factors as well. But one of the responses we got back that really stuck with me is this: if nobody's heard of your announcement trailer, is your game truly announced? That came from the marketing team behind Checkmate Showdown, a game revealed in early April that's a mix of three of my favorite things: fighting games, chess, and weird combinations. It's a game with a reveal trailer that ended up going viral on Twitter and amassing over 2 million views. They went on to mention in their response to us that the most challenging aspect of announcing a new game is, unsurprisingly, getting attention. The truth is, there isn't a single one-size-fits-all way to get a game announcement seen by thousands or millions of players if you're not able to get onto a big showcase. Timing, placement, quality of trailers, brand recognition, and sadly luck all come into play in different levels to make a game announcement successful. And that's the scary thing about announcing a video game. You never know how well a project is going to resonate with the audience until it's unveiled. And even though there is an infinite amount of preparation you can do, luck is always going to play a factor. That's why I want to talk to someone with experience helping indie games get seen, noticed, and understood.
Hi, I'm Victoria Tran. I'm the community director over at Innersloth, and I'm also an organizer for Wholesome Games.
What is the toughest part of marketing a game before launch?
It feels like everything because so much of it is making people care about a game before launch. Just getting that hype, getting that audience, getting the eyes on your game and keeping them interested until you launch is definitely the hardest thing to do.
What are things you think are important for getting a game announcement right?
Just getting a really good trailer. People get super hyped about them. You also want to make sure your timing is right. So when are you launching? When are you making your announcement? And is it during a really busy time? If it is during a busy time, like in June, where a lot of different game shows are happening, is it in the right place? Is it not clashing with something that might be very similar to your game? A lot of people don't get the CTA right, so that's the call to action. So it's like, are they wishlisting your game? Are they buying your game? Should they go somewhere to do something? Basically taking that energy and putting it somewhere where people can gather and kind of form a community and a really excited player base.
What's the most common video game marketing mistake you see?
I see so many. A lot of indie developers thinking that they don't need marketing, in the case where it's like, oh, well, marketing can come later. I'll think about it once it becomes an issue. Like a month from now, I'll email someone and ask, okay, maybe I should get some marketing done, and not really thinking about marketing and how people are going to discover and think about your game from the onset of when you're developing it, when you're prototyping it. A lot of people think that, oh, well, if it's a good game, people will be excited about it. But there are so many good games out there that no one has heard of, no one has played. It is really hard to get people to care and to get that attention when, again, there are so many other games out there.
Video game showcases have gone from just 1 week in June to a year-long phenomenon, and we're only seeing them pop up more and more. E3 used to be the Christmas of gaming, the 1 week a year for the last 2 decades that would set the tone for what to expect from any big publisher. The place you'd expect deep dives into Fallout 4, puppet versions of Nintendo executives announcing a new Star Fox, and PlayStation revealing Spider-Man, God of War, and Death Stranding all in the same conference. But now E3 is effectively dead. PlayStation has their own showcase. Ubisoft started doing their own Nintendo Directs that somehow also include Mario. Shoot, even Disney is doing their own showcase and letting just anybody host it. As E3 has struggled over recent years, publishers, organizations, and devs have had to resort to different means of capturing that showcase hype. So to get a better understanding on the how and why, I sat down with somebody who has a bit of experience putting together a few small showcases. What is your name and what do you do?
My name is Jeff Keighley. I guess today I'm sort of mostly known as the guy who does all those live stream video game events like the Game Awards and Summer Game Fest and Gamescom Opening Night Live.
How much work goes into that? How much time do you put into each show? How much manpower? What does that look like in terms of the workload that goes into putting a big showcase?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work. I think people sometimes don't realize how much work it is, but I mean, Game Awards is kind of a year-round thing. And now that we do sort of 3 of these big shows a year, it all kind of blends together because I'm talking to a studio and things will often move, right? Things will move from Summer Game Fest to Gamescom or move from Gamescom to Game Awards. But, the thing I really love is meeting with developers and hearing their pitches and looking at games. I often travel around the world in summertime. I'll visit studios around the world looking at their games, thinking about, what are they going to bring to the table. We often do rough cuts of trailers. We give feedback. I think people probably don't realize how creatively involved in a lot of the moments that you see at our shows.
What are the must-haves, you'd say, for a game reveal trailer?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, every game's different. But I would say, a couple things that are insights that we've learned over the years. I think what's unique about our show is that it's a cross-industry showcase. So you can do things in our show that takes the audience on a journey. I always tell people, think of the collective community experience as you're watching the show as people kind of go through a trailer. And I love those moments where, a trailer starts and then you don't know what it is, right? And you see a screen, you see an image, you're like, what game could this be? Taking the audience on an emotional journey is the best thing you can do. And ideally, you're actually showing something from the game as well.
For you, how do you see the current state of video game showcases?
Yeah, it's evolved. I lived that for 20 years, right? Of going to E3 and it was this war between all the different companies, right? And we'd have 4 or 5 events. I mean, I used to host and produce all that stuff on YouTube, right? Where we'd have 2 days and we'd open the morning with, the Nintendo press event, and then we'd go to the Xbox event, and then the EA event, and we'd close, the day with Sony, and it was this incredible day, right, of all this video game news. And yeah, I think it's just changed, right? And I always see people online, wistfully hoping for those days to come back. Same thing where everyone's E3's back this year. And it was sort of this idea that those moments that we loved from 10 years ago are going to come back. And I think it's just kind of changed and evolved. The current landscape kind of works for everyone. I know for consumers, they love everything to sort of be piled up. But look, I talked to all the companies and they look at it now as like, you know, you don't want to compete head to head because you want your own day. You know, I miss the magic of everything being like 1 week with everything kind of combined together. I don't think we're going back to that, because one of the things I love the most about our shows is that sense of discovery. People will watch our shows because they know we're going to showcase, you know, some new big game that's coming out because we pre-announced it. But then when they're there, they get to discover new games, and someone will be like watching the Game Awards and discover Dead Cells and be like, oh, that's amazing. This Castlevania crossover, that's cool. Let me check out this game. So I think that's really part of the service we hopefully provide to developers, is that we can help people discover new things. So that's why I love kind of like having indie games, having some unexpected games amongst all the bigger games. It's like that like helps lift the industry, right? All boats rise.
Showcase hype is real, and in a gaming world where everybody gets a showcase and every single thing is driven by hype, it's important to remind ourselves how crucial and important these moments are for devs. And it's important to remember how much work goes into the announcements themselves. Because for every hype PlayStation Studios announcement or out-of-season April Fool's joke, there's a team that's trying really hard to get their game seen, and putting out your reveal in front of the world is harder than it looks. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I've been Blessing, and you know what? This is a showcase, and we gotta do one more thing. You remember that developer of Ring of Pain that we talked to earlier, Simon Boxer? Well, we figured why not use this episode of The Blessing Show to announce their next game, and I can't stress this enough. The game we're about to reveal is 100% real. So without further ado, let's close out this episode of The Blessing Show with a world premiere.
When life seems not to go our way, am I amiss? Am I okay? We know that change comes from within. You are that change beneath the skin. You play a virus, spread disease, explore expanding piece by piece. Find cells to grow, survive, transform. Adapt your host, perfect their form. More limbs and jaws, teeth and claws. Locate more hosts, infect because to propagate our only cause. This story is not what it was.
Christopher.